Welcome to the Cloak and Dagger podcast. On this podcast, we'll be talking about freeform show Cloak and Dagger. Here are your hosts, Kat and Butch.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cloak and Dagger podcast. This is our episode 2. I'm your host Kat along with my co-host Butch. As you guys have heard from our amazing announcer guy, if you're listening on our audio outlets, Butch, we have to name this guy. He's so dedicated to his job.
I know, right? He has the coolest. I want his voice. What do you think? Like, I feel like his name is probably like some cool thing, like Ash or like
that's
Blade.
A good one. Yeah, like Ash or Blade, or like just like a strong masculine name like Anthony Steven or something like that. He's just like, I don't know. I feel pumped up whenever I hear this guy introducing our names.
It's like, welcome to Cloak and Dagger. I'm like, yes, I am. I'm part of the podcast and I'm excited.
This is the best podcast ever. I can already tell.
But his real name is probably like Todd or Bob.
Yeah. If you guys are just watching us on YouTube, you should listen to one of our audio outlets just to hear introduction to this guy.
It's worth it.
Yeah, we should totally name him, so that we should discuss, like, maybe we'll come up with a list of names and put out a poll on Twitter, and you guys can help us pick a name for introduction voice guy.
Yeah, Intro Boy, and that could be his code name for now, Intro Boy.
Intro Boy, that's his superpower.
And he does all the intros for the other shows, right?
Yes, he does our Shadowhunters podcast and our Siren podcast intros, so he's the hard
gotta name him.
Guy. Yeah, we'll come up with a poll, and instead the intro voice guy can be like his superhero name, but he needs like a regular like run-of-the-mill name for his daytime persona.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Thanks, guys, for joining us again. Again, this is our second episode. When this airs, there'll be about 2 weeks until Cloak and Dagger actually comes out on TV. And right now, when we're recording this, we still have over a month, so we're anxiously awaiting. But when we get down to 2 weeks, I'm going to be so excited. And you guys know we have that 2-hour series premiere. They're spoiling us with that 2-hour series premiere. And on our last episode, Butch, you said that if it was only one episode, it wouldn't have been enough, and I totally agree. I'm glad they're doing the 2 hours so that we can get a really good look at these characters and what they have to bring to the table, and really what they're going to do with the show for TV as compared to the comics.
Right.
I don't know about the comics as much as my co-host here, so... So we'll see what it brings. We did get a new trailer, and it's amazing. I talked last time on our first episode that Freeform really knows how to pick music, and man, they put House of the Rising Sun in there. Like, that was such a good song to put in that trailer. It got me super excited for this show to come out and like really see what's going on. So I was distracted by the song the first time I watched the trailer. So I had
Did you know this the song before you heard while you were listening to the trailer?
Yeah, and as soon as I heard like the intro riff, I was
okay.
That is amazing. So I was completely distracted by that and had to watch the trailer 3 more times. But what did you think of the trailer? Did it make you more excited about the show?
Yes, they tweeted it out that they were gonna come out with I think it's the last trailer. Like, I read that somewhere. It's the last trailer before the show, and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm expecting like just the same scenes, or mostly the same scenes, and then maybe they'll add some new stuff. But man, there's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of new concepts introduced, and we get our first shots of some characters. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. Let's go.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at my notes over here. So I think like one of the big differences in the show, from what I gather from what they've released so far, is that it seems to me that Ty and Tandy are going to have maybe their powers, like, I don't know how they're going to get their powers. So I have an understanding of how they get their powers in the comic books. And we went into that a little bit on our last episode, and we discussed, are they going to bring that angle into the TV show because it is a freeform show and that is kind of a serious subject, getting kidnapped and then used for experimentation. But it seems to me in the show they have a connection, like they built a connection for them throughout their lives. Whereas, and please correct me if I'm wrong, in the comic books they're only meeting later on when they're teenagers. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. They added something. So there's the characters of Tyrone and Tandy. They meet up earlier. Like I don't know, was it like 8 years earlier, something like that? They that was mentioned on the Cloak and Dagger Twitter. Like 8 years had passed by. Yeah. So there's some stuff about destiny when it comes to the comic book origin. Like they added that on a little bit later on. But so that's cool that they incorporated that in the TV version a little bit more. Obviously, if you meet someone earlier and then you meet up with that person again after like 8 years and you come from different backgrounds, like there's a sense of we're gonna say this word a lot probably, like to this episode, divine. Like there's some kind of divine power at work over there. So they definitely added that in. Did you catch like in the earlier trailer? I'm not sure about this. It seems like the thing, like the same thing or event, like there's like some kind of explosion that happens on like an oil rig or a ship in the middle of a lake or something.
So then that made me think, like, is that Roxxon's oil rig?
Maybe, yeah. But it's interesting. It feels like, I'm not sure if this is what's gonna happen, but it feels like that moment of that thing exploding directly affects them both.
Okay.
Because it feels like Tandy's car, or what the car that her family is in, because of that accident, they I don't know, they drive like off a bridge or something.
Yeah.
And something happens with Tyrone as well, because he and his brother are being accosted by I don't know, like a police officer, and then like something happens, like you see the explosion in the background. It might be the same explosion, so that's cool. Like that one moment, and these two characters are in the same area, and their lives are like changed, and so maybe that's destiny, maybe it's just a coincidence. So anyway, that's from the previous trailer. I just thought that was something worth mentioning.
No, but that's definitely worth mentioning, because like maybe that's the moment where they were linked through destiny, or kind of got their powers, or like an inkling for their powers. And in the new trailer, you see these scenes of like both Tandy and Ty kind of chained and jumping into water. So I have no idea what that means, but maybe they're trying to simulate how they first met.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I just did, because you brought up that car thing in the water. So like, maybe that has something to do, because I couldn't figure out what she was doing. I mean, I didn't think she was, trying to kill herself or anything like that. But then, like, very quickly in that trailer, they flashed that Ty is doing the same thing. And I don't know if it's occurring at the same time within the show itself, but in the trailer, they show it side by side, sort of. So maybe that has something to do with how their powers work, or how they're connected in that.
It's water. It's all water.
Yeah. So
when they get wet, they get powers.
Yeah. So like in the beginning of the trailer, we saw Tandy, and she kind of like takes Ty, like, I don't know, is she taking him to like another realm or another world, or like inside a place where only they can go together? It seems like an old church kind of place. I don't know if I was interpreting that wrong. What did you see when you saw that scene?
Yeah, that's interesting that you picked that up too. It could be like, at the first time I watched it, I missed it, so I thought it was like, oh, they're just in some cemetery.
Yeah.
And obviously they show that a lot in the first trailer. Like they meet around the cemetery. I understand there are a lot of those in New Orleans. Yeah. But yeah, it feels like the way they cut it, this trailer, like they touch, and then like shit goes boom, like Tandy said, and then something changed with the way they shot it. Like they might be somewhere else, like in another dimension. So obviously Cloak deals with Cloak can teleport. Also, have we talked about it? Well, Cloak can teleport, and he is a portal to another dimension, and it's called the Dark Force dimension in the comic books. I don't know. Like I'm just spitballing here, but maybe it's something like that. Like it's I don't know, because it's weird, because she's like, do you want the power? And you have to like open the door, and you get the power, and you're a god, and that. What do you think about that? Because in terms of like the comic books, that's not grounded in anything that ever happened in the comic book. So what do you think? What do you feel like? What could that be? Why is there like the god angle in there?
I think that they're really going for that divine pairing angle. And is the divine pairing mentioned in the comic books at all, or is that
No,
show
no,
specific?
that's a
That's a
TV
show
thing.
thing? Okay, so they're really going for that divine pairing angle. So I think Tandy, like, maybe that's just her personality as being like a strong character, saying like, do you want to be a god? And basically saying like, we could have these really cool superpowers and we have these abilities because we're connected. Um, but like whatever that deciding moment was that made them the divine pairing, maybe this other place that they go to, or other dimension, or maybe it's just a place where like they can go within their minds because they have a connection. Maybe they can learn
Yeah.
about their powers there. Maybe it's like a practice ground for them to like really experiment and see like what they can do and who they are.
Hmm.
I think they do show that in the trailer, that like that's really where they want to learn about themselves, and that's where they try to touch, but they're not really able to because they get pushed apart. Um, but I don't know, that
Yeah.
that whole place, and then it tied into, we got more of Evita in this trailer, and you and I were talking
Yeah.
about how we were surprised that she had a more of a role than we thought she was. We thought that she was just basically going to be Ty's girlfriend. But it seems like
Yeah.
he knows a whole lot more than even Ty and Tandy know. And she
Hmm.
is played by Noelle Renee Bursey. So this is
Right.
really one of her kind of first roles. So I'm
Okay.
sure she's got a lot to bring to the table. But I was happy to see somebody in the trailer with like that explaining role to kind of like tell us on our watching end what was going on. Um,
Right.
but did anything she say, like, did that ring true to you from the comic book perspective, or is that all something new that they're bringing to the show?
That she's a new character. Cloak has obviously I think we can say she's like the fourth corner of like a love square
Yeah.
that might happen in the TV show, and so she's gonna be Tyrone's love interest. Um, t- in the comic books, Tyrone has a love interest early on. Like he has like a childhood friend from Boston, I guess.
Mhm.
Her name is Tia in the comic book. So I don't know, like Evita has the letters T I and A. So I don't know
Yeah,
if that's like a wink wink to the audience or anything. Um,
that's good.
but
Good to point out. I bet it is.
right, and she has her own story in the comic books. So if ever it's the same character, or it's a nod to the character, that's probably all it is. Like she doesn't feel like she's gonna be based on the comic book version of Tia. And yeah, it's interesting because the reason why we missed talking about her on our first episode was she's not even in the cast photo, right?
No, and she seems like really important, so I don't know why they didn't put her in that photo.
I know. Freaking Liam's in the picture, right?
I
So
know. Oh,
that, that
they
guy.
announced his character just this past week. Did you see? And I was like, oh, I got my eyes on you, Liam. I don't know if I trust you yet.
And even the other people commenting were like, I don't trust this guy.
Yeah.
So she's we'll see. She doesn't look. I don't know. She kind of looks. She could be evil, right? I mean, I don't know her.
Oh,
Just
she
the
could be that
actresses.
aspect. Yeah, I mean, we really don't know anything about her, so she could be, or she could be like that guiding person. Um,
Right.
But I don't like when and I love Tandy because Tandy has some really good lines and she has the best reactions to things. But when Evita was kind of like, "Yeah, you guys can test your limits and your powers, but one of you is gonna live and one of you is gonna die," and Tandy's just like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Excuse me?
that's my reaction here. I'm already invested in two of you together being two of you together. I can't lose one of you before we've even started this." So
I know, right?
is that a comic book thing? Was that ever like a threat that like one would live and one would die?
No, well, because I mean, death in comic books is obviously if you watch Flash, even like that, they got that on the TV show. They got that part of the comic books right. Like people die often in the comic books, and then they come back in like
Yeah,
I don't know a year, something like that.
it's like
Yeah,
a
I
soap
know.
opera. Yeah.
Exactly. But they've never done that. I'm trying to think. Like I'm sure, like Daggers died, Cloaks died, but it's never lasted long because
Yeah.
you can't really have Cloak and Dagger too long without
Right.
Cloak or Dagger. Right? So it's very interesting that they're doing this because it's kind of stressing me out. Like, yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get rid of Cloak and or Dagger, right? But why even hint that? Why even make that a like? It's like a tagline. Like, and
Right.
Evita knows, and she's not even. Well, maybe she's part of Roxxon, but
That's a
actually no. Yeah, I feel like she's the only one person who said that, right? Like somebody said it before. It's her, right? It's her
I think
voice.
there was I'm not sure because I'd have to go back and watch that first trailer, but I thought that there was another like older woman who said that.
Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah,
I don't know who that is. I haven't seen anything
yeah.
about that person. But definitely
Right.
it was for sure Evita who said it in this specific trailer, and it made
People
me
know.
feel like she okay, so she knew about the divine pairing. So
Mhm.
are Ty and Tandy not the first divine pairing? Like, have the divine pairing been something that has
Ooh,
protected the city for years and years and years, and they're just the new people to
hmm,
protect the city?
right.
So like something that she maybe like okay, so maybe Evita's parents or maybe her family in some way was connected to this.
Like they're into voodoo and
Okay,
mysticism and.
right, because we saw kind of like scenes like that, right? Like
Hmm.
new
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, like real quick flashes. But maybe she knows because she has that connection to the divine pairing, as it were. And maybe there was like
True.
Cloak and Daggers like previously with the same powers. And then when the one will live, one will die, like when one dies, then they have to be replaced and tie it
Like somebody else will take over.
in. Yeah. I don't know.
Right.
That's a good angle. I'm gonna go with that over she's a traitor, because I kind of miss her. So I don't want to make her.
Yeah.
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 Like I feel like I would be completely fine with making Liam a traitor at this point, but I'll leave Evita on my good side, even though I'm still invested in the Ty Tandy connection, and I'm still working out a ship name for them because it's hard with their first names, so I'm gonna have to
I know.
their last names. And there
I
might
heard Tyrandy,
Tyrandy. That's not bad.
but I don't know.
Okay.
It sounds like I don't know. It sounds like you're from the south and you're Tyrandy.
Yeah, yeah. I buy that. I don't know, I'm still working that out. And I'm sure somebody has a great ship name. Listeners, if you have a ship name for Ty and Tandy, please let us know on Twitter
Yeah.
because it's hard for me to make a decision about anything in life. So making a ship name decision about a show that I'm going to get really super involved in is a responsibility that I don't think I can handle on my own. So we need your help. We need your help in naming our announcer voice guy, and we need a ship name. We need ship name help. So please
Yes.
talk to us on Twitter. But going back to Evita, I'm happy to see that she's gonna have this bigger role, and I guess we'll just have to wait until June 7th to see what that exactly means and to see if any of our theories about her so far pan out.
Yeah.
What else is in the trailer? We got to see the back of Father Delgado. I was pretty excited about that. I was like, yes, I know who that is.
Finally, this is the first time we see him, right?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
part of him anyway.
Well,
And
we can confidently say that's the back of his head.
True. And it turns around and it's what's her name? Emma Lahana.
Yeah.
Like, oops.
It looks like Ty
And
was in some like choir robes. Like maybe
yeah,
he's in the choir. He's part of Father Delgado's congregation.
he's a very active young man.
Yeah, yeah.
He's part of the basketball team and he's like a choir boy, so
Yeah, like he's like a good kid. But
so annoying.
you said last week that that's like a contrast from the comics, that like Ty was really portrayed as being like the bad kid who was like going around stealing, and it kind of flipped roles with Ty and Tandy in the show.
Right. Well, more of he's not the type of person like in the comic books. He's into basketball, like they always mention that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the sense I get, and they didn't focus on it too much in the comic books, but the sense I get was he's very like a sort of an introvert.
Yeah.
And he's shy um, and comic readers would know he has a pretty nasty stutter. So I'm thinking that probably didn't help him become like the popular boy in school, and not that we know if he's going to be the popular boy in school in the TV show, but yeah, it looks like he's like a part of. He's he has like a more full social life in the TV show, at least to start with.
Yeah, and like we said, it looks like he goes to like a preparatory school. He looks like he's part of teams. He's got a beautiful girlfriend. He's got a good family, a good home structure. But then you also get the sense that like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders in a sense, where he's really trying to make sure that he doesn't disappoint anybody or let anybody down. And I think that that's going to be a dynamic that we see between Ty and his parents. So
right.
We'll see how that goes, and we'll see how Evita plays into everything. And then I'm also curious to see how Evita and Tandy react to each other.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because he goes in that party scene, kind of where like Ty and Tandy first reconnect as teenagers.
Yeah.
He's at that party with Evita, right?
Yes, or I don't know if he's with her, but yeah, they definitely see each other. Yeah. So maybe they're a couple. I didn't think that they'd be a couple. Like in my head, I'm like but we do see them kissing. That's her, right?
Yeah.
Kissing Tyrone. So maybe they get together at some point during the series, or maybe they start off like that in the same way that I think Tandy and what's his face, Liam are gonna start off as some kind of couple. So we're gonna see dynamics, and we know that they're gonna like talk, like that scene where Tandy's like, what was that? She's like, what was that? So we know that the three of them at least are going to be in the same area, and interacting. So I want to see what's happening, and she seems like she's super interesting. Like I feel like with Olivia, you know what she's going for right away. Like that's her. Like she's got, like, you can see what kind of character she has, and of course that's important for the main character. But for Evita, like it looks like she can go in several places. Like I'm saying, like I said, she might be like an antagonist. But at the same time, she does seem very likable, and I can imagine like people digging her because she obviously like cares for Tyrone, or maybe, I don't know. So it's cool. She's interesting. She's very interesting, and they definitely did her wrong by not putting her in that cast picture.
I know.
She's in a lot of episodes.
She wasn't there, but I think she'll be like a good. Along with Tandy, like I bet they'll have some really good scenes together where Evita's kind of just like, you need to back off my man a little bit. So we'll see how that goes. But also in the trailer we got to see Cloak, and I know we wanted to talk about costumes. His cloak is really cool. So
yes,
yeah. What do you think about that?
And that's the first time we're seeing that, right?
Yeah.
The stripes.
We've seen it like in the by the Roxxon sign, and he's standing there. And you can see like the cloak like bellowing behind him in the wind. But we got to see a
Right.
good up close look at the cloak, and it's like beaded and beautiful.
Yeah. That's a New Orleans thing, right? Like beads, they're into
Yeah,
that.
like that really cool decoration. I don't know. I'm excited to see who gave it to him, or like did he just go out and was like, hey, I found this really cool cloak. I'm gonna wear this, or because I'm
Yeah.
assuming in the comic books they just get their outfits. There's no like backstory as to how they get them.
Yes, like we see in the comic books, he literally just sees a cloak on the side on like some alley, like somebody threw away a cloak. I don't even know if people were wearing cloaks during the 80s. That was style in like the 18th century, but yeah. So he finds a cloak. It feels like they retcon that because he never takes it off. I mean, it's like part of his character. Like it's. I don't know if it's just a regular costume, like because obviously it like expands and stuff. So maybe they changed that a bit, and, like they made it like a living thing almost. Like they obviously when they started they didn't know, they were just trying out things. So in the comic, he just finds the cloak. I don't know if we'll see this because remember it's interesting I'm trying to remember in the first trailer we see a shot of young Tandy and young Tyrone and they're like super cute and they're on the beach and they're holding hands. Do you remember that? Isn't he wearing like a cloak in that scene?
Oh, I don't know.
Is it a blanket maybe?
I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah.
That was an interesting visual.
Right. So it's cool that we finally get confirmation that, and I guess we'll talk about costumes later, but it's cool to see, yes, he's going to get like the what do you call this, the striped version of his costume, which is what he had for the longer time in the comic books. Because if you look at the way they draw him sometimes in the modern comics, he just has like a plain black cloak sometimes, or like a dark gray cloak, which is what I thought we were gonna get based on the earlier trailers. That's cool.
I like that, and I like that they showed that to us. But that's an interesting, take on. So from the comics, he just kind of picked a cloak up off the street, basically. I mean, he might do that in the show, and I wonder if Tandy will say anything to him. Like, I wonder if Tandy will have any kind of like smart aleck remark to say to him, like, where did you get this blanket?
It's so pretty.
Yeah. Because like what her costume is kind of like the skin tight like leotard with like a dagger symbol cut out of it.
Yep. And that's gotten some like as controversial as Cloak and Dagger could get, because they're not the most popular characters for some stupid reason. But like sometimes like I'll see comments like, what is she wearing? And with it maybe doesn't work as well in like with modern sensibilities, of course. And actually I really want to get your take on that, because you're a noob.
I am.
When was the first what was the first time you saw Cloak and Dagger? So you probably saw them first on the TV, on the two actors for the TV show, and then you googled the comic book costume. How did you feel when you first saw them, and especially Dagger's costume?
Okay, so when I first saw the costumes, when I first saw Cloak, I was like, yeah, he looks like a Marvel hero. He's got like the cloak, but I could tell that they were drawn in the 80s because he had like the Skeletor, like He-Man looking, like body type to him, and then with the cloak, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I look at Tandy, and I was like, oh, honey, we need to fix her hair. She had the big 80s hair, like she looked like Gem in the Rocket. So she had like the big 80s hair and the earrings and like that skin tight, and I was like, oh, she's going to like her first heavy metal concert, and she's like super excited about. About
Bon Jovi, seeing Bon Jovi for the first time.
Yes, she's definitely going to a rock show, and that was my impression of her. So when I saw the cloak that they brought into the TV series, I was like, cool, they did a great job of like bringing that element of a character, and obviously an important element since his name is Cloak. um,
Yeah.
Bringing that in and making him look really good. I love that scene of him standing on top of the building and just having
Yeah.
that cloak like flow, because
Yeah.
that's looks like it looks badass. So
Yeah.
they haven't showed any of Tandy in any kind of a costume, unless she was just in like a white like tank top or leotard, because she was a ballerina when she was little.
Mhm.
I don't know if they would
Yes.
bring like that kind of element in, or if she's gonna have a costume. Maybe she won't. She probably won't.
Right.
But I'm glad she's not gonna bring back the '80s hair. She can leave her Aquanet at home, and she can leave she can leave her hair the way it is, because Olivia Holt is beautiful, and I think they picked
Right.
perfect actors. We talked about this on our last show, but they picked perfect actors for these characters because they're relatively unknown characters. We don't have any, previous ideas of what their acting abilities are or the characters that they've played, so they can really bring these characters into their own and make them, this is who these people are going to be known for. So whatever they decide, whatever costuming they give Tandy, at least for me, that's going to be what becomes Dagger in my mind over that
Right.
the comic book image. Now it might be different for you because you grew up with the comic books.
Yeah. But it's interesting that it's interesting you mentioned her hair, and I thought you were gonna talk about the revealing dagger thing.
Yeah, like
cut out.
like the cutout of the dagger on her chest, and it's like, I buy that. But like, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so there have been some. I say like, if you're looking at 80s, that's revealing for a character for the 80s for sure.
Right.
But I don't feel like they're gonna bring that element of the costume, at least in the cutout way, to the show. Because I think that, and maybe not, but it's a Disney. Freeform is owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Marvel's owned by Disney. I don't know if they're going to bring that element in. And I think that if they did, it would kind of be a detriment to the character and how, like, because I feel like they want to build Tandy up as, like, a strong, powerful woman who knows what she wants. And
Yes.
to not have that distraction of, like, a sexy costume, I think would be better. I think it would be better for her, and I think it would make her ultimately more likable. But I don't know, they might have a scene where she does have a sexy costume and Evita's like, what are you wearing?
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because that's actually the from what I've seen, like a few years ago, there was like this little hullabaloo thing about her costume on Twitter. I don't know, some semi-famous girl. I don't even remember her name, but maybe she's like a what do you call them? Like a mini celebrity or a micro celebrity. Like she tweeted out like this crude cartoon she made, and you can probably tell how I feel about this. She like this ugly ass drawing that she made, and she was like making fun of it because she's a female, and she was like, and can we say tit window? Because that's what she said. She's like, oh, tit window, blah blah blah, my tit window, and
I mean that's what it looks like in the comic book.
Right, and then of course me, I'm like, I'm gonna protect my baby, so I'm like.
Right.
So I'm like, no, because you don't know comics. She's like a ballerina. She's supposed to wear skin tight, blah, 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 blah. So I was like Googling like, what do you call them? Like actual like leotards or things that ballerinas wear. I was like looking for something revealing.
Yeah.
And I could find some things, but not like that. Because it's, like, for me, and I'm just a guy, so, just put me in my place if I'm wrong here, but for me the bigger problem is the dagger that goes down to her navel, like that thing. Like I feel like in terms of seeing her cleavage, like people, especially athletes or maybe like ballerinas or performers, I've seen worse. Like I've seen in terms of cleavage, it's like look, what do you call them? I don't know anything about fashion. You can tell like a low cut whatever, like a low cut thing would show the same amount,
Yeah.
and it
Like a
just
tank
because
top.
of the shape of it, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's why you're like, oh, look at that, it's like right there. And then the dagger, that's the thing. It's like, oh, that's dangerously close to whatever's,
Right.
to what's down there. So, that might be. So I thought that would be like for me. It's really beautiful. This is hard to say. It's like so elegantly designed.
Yeah.
Because it's just all white and it's a dagger and it's perfect and it shapes her and she's a female and it's the form of it, it's perfect. And actually, Marvel has. Sorry, I'm going on and on about this.
No, you're fine.
They've tried to fix that or to make changes to her costume. In the comic books, like in the Spider-Man animated series Web Warriors, which came out like a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
Cloak and Dagger made an appearance, and what they did was, like, instead of the dagger being flesh, it's just a different shade of white.
Yeah. And I think that's what they might do for the TV show. To just have the dagger symbol on there, but not have it be actually cut out of whatever she's gonna wear, but have that still have that symbol there, or maybe it'll be like lit up in some way, like a glowy arc reactor Tony Stark kind of deal, where she has that part. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. And so it's interesting because there's like a shot back to this trailer. There's like a shot of her when Cloak's like blasting her with like dark energy for some reason, and she's like blocking it. She's wearing like I don't know, like a ballerina outfit. Like it's all white and you can't see much of it, but it looks like it's skin tight. So I'm thinking, oh, that's gonna be their little Easter egg for the fans. Because everywhere else, like Olivia's wearing whatever, like a white shirt and jeans, normal jeans.
Yeah.
And she said in an interview that she's like down to wear the costume, and I'm like, okay, so she's okay with it. Yeah, and I don't know if there's a problem. You can, like you said, you can make it a power. You can make it white. You can make it shorter, less revealing.
Yeah.
But just what matters for me is that hopefully it's skin tight, because sure, that doesn't look good for both sexes when you see that. Like, oh, you're objectifying the comic book character. But for this character, for Tandy, who's like a ballerina and she's super agile, like for me, it's always made sense to me.
Yeah, that was like part of who she was in the comic book.
Yes, exactly, and it just works, and it looks really great. And I don't know.
I'm sure they'll do a great job of modernizing it with like while keeping it tasteful. So like on Shadowhunters, which you need to watch because it's amazing. So plug another Freeform show and plug the Shadowhunters podcast. That's one of our sister podcasts. But there is a character, Isabel, who is a very strong female character who's a fighter, and she dresses sexy. So that was always part of her character from the books that the show is based off of. Is that she fights demons in 6-inch heels. She dresses sexy, and they bring that into the show. Freeform did a great job with their wardrobe and bringing that element of the character into the show, but leaving it tasteful. So Izzy in the show she's gorgeous. She's beautifully dressed. She looks fantastic, and when she's fighting, it looks like she's comfortable in her clothes. So I think that that's another important thing to bring to Tandy as she learns and bringing that ballerina element in. She's comfortable in that skin tight leotard sort of thing. That's what she basically grew up in. When she was dancing, she can move in that. And having superpowers and fighting evil, you need to be able to move around. So I can't imagine giving her some kind of clunky, ugly costume. I think they're gonna do it very tastefully, but bring that modern element into it. Like I said, as long as she keeps her hair in that scene, I'm good.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So
is it? I have a question. Yeah. So you do cosplay. Okay, how would somebody would people? Because over the years I've seen people do Cloak and Dagger. Mm-hmm. Is it like is it like the easiest thing to do, or like it seems like it's super easy. You just have to, I don't know, like get a blanket and get like a tight white like pants and a shirt, and you're Cloak and Dagger.
So it all depends because it depends on how authentic you want to be. So if somebody wanted to cosplay like original comic book Tandy, they make bodysuits. You could get a white bodysuit. You can make the modifications to it that you need to have the cutout of the dagger. You can have your
Right.
wig or your own hair styled as you need to. But
2
cosplay
or
is
3
really,
wigs.
yeah. Cosplay is like it's an art form because you really want to get that character as close as possible and you want to have those details as close as possible. We're going to be cosplaying coming up for Anime Central. Is this going to air? No, this will air afterward. So I hope that I have met some of you guys at Anime Central coming up in Chicago because it's a huge convention. We're going to be cosplaying Malik. So Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood. I'm going to be Alec Lightwood. I sent you a picture of my cos test Alec, but
Yeah.
you know we've really worked hard on my jacket to kind of make that like look like something he would wear and to make it functional. So my husband, who's an artist, is also a craftsman and has really taken like just a basic bow and really reconstructed it to look like it looks like nothing like it. It started out as this, it's an actual working bow, but it was bright green. And now it looks like something that Alec would pull off of the wall in the Shadowhunters Institute ready to go for a fight. So it's really getting all of those details down, my quiver, the way it's going to hold on my back. Can I reach my arrows for pictures? It's just, it's really you becoming that character and feeling confident as that person. So that's like the other half of cosplay that people don't think about. Like when you put on that costume, you want to take over that person.
Yes.
So,
Right.
you know, and just getting a cloak, you know, just if you wanted to cosplay Cloak, I would take that still of Tyrone from the show and like study that material that they made his cloak out of and really get those details down as much as possible because there's nothing like somebody coming up to you and recognizing you as the character you're trying to portray. It's an amazing feeling. So to really put that time and effort into it, and that's why, you know, I think that they're going to really do justice to their costumes because it's going to help Olivia Holt and Aubrey, to really get into their characters and to feel like, yes, I am Cloak and I am Dagger, and this is who I am. To really bring it.
Right. That's cool.
I'm looking forward to seeing more costuming for sure, because really seeing all those little details. And the budgets they have on these shows for costuming, I love it. And the talent they have access to, because they'll have like a whole costuming department that can just whip up, you know, oh, you need this and it needs to look exactly like this, no problem. Let me bring out all of my endless supplies of material and my fittings and my sewing machine and my amazing seamstress skills, and let me just get that all together.
Right.
So, and having the New Orleans influence in it too.
Yes.
Good to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and it's that influence is strong, right? Like you can tell from the music, obviously, and the costumes. Like it's interesting because we mentioned it before. That's not even part of the comic books. Like they in the comic books, everything in Marvel happens in New York City.
Yeah.
In the comic book, so there's an oversaturation of characters there. So it's really good that I like that they moved it, and I like the choice of New Orleans. You, of course, you probably know more about New Orleans than I would, but it's that there's a lot of spirituality in that place.
And I think that works perfectly with the divine pairing concept that we have going on in the show.
Exactly right, and we see like there's even in the comic books, like I was saying earlier, they never mentioned the God stuff or anything like that, or the divine stuff in the comic books. But there was always a religion aspect to the characters with Father Delgado, obviously, and their base of operations was a church. So there is that aspect. Like there's the science aspect, which we're gonna get in the TV show with Roxanne, I think, with all the Roxanne stuff and the drugs and whatever, and the religion stuff, which is bringing it back to this new trailer. There's a lot of that here, that mysticism with the like, I don't know, alternate dimensions and the imagery of the statues, and so it's cool that we're getting both sides of the concept in the comic books. We're seeing that here in the TV show.
Yeah, I love that you brought up the word mysticism, because I think that's a perfect description of what they're going to bring to the show, because that's really like an element of New Orleans that and I've never been there, unfortunately, but I think that's a part of the culture, and having that background of being in New Orleans and having that mysticism is going to help the characters kind of come into their own without really questioning, like, this can't be happening, this isn't real, like, this superpowers aren't a real thing, but having that kind of an open mind, really, from that aspect, and not just having, because Father Delgado to me looks like, like Roman Catholic priest, so not just having that Roman Catholic element of religion in the show, but also having other forms of spiritualism.
Right.
That's super interesting to me. So I can't wait to see how they bring and tie that in with the New Orleans culture, with their powers, and then what is Father Delgado going to say about that? Is that going to go against his teachings? And like, how is that all going to be brought in? Maybe next time, or there's not going to be any more trailer, but maybe we'll get a still of like his face. Like,
the front.
Oh, we do have one. We have one of him. Not in his like mass robes, but he's wearing like.
Oh, we do?
Shirt. He's got the collar. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we do.
Okay.
That's how they introduced him.
Right.
Wasn't he? He was in the cast picture. Was he wearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, like having that extra layer of spiritualism and not just like straight out, religious, hardcore Roman Catholic religion, is going to be really cool to see how they play with that, especially with the light and dark duality element they already have going on, because there's so many different ways they can go with that. So I'm very interested in that. One other thing from the trailer that I want to mention really quickly is we saw Detective Connors, and he was trying to
like my guy.
Yeah, no, not feeling him at all. Like,
dude. Chasing
Ty down the alley. So then I wonder, like, what's the timeline of this? So is this
right?
Well, he's obviously older when he's chasing him, but like, is this before he met Tandy or after? I mean, he did his portaling out to the dark force dimension, right? So he did his teleporting out when he was about to get shot, and Detective Connors was like, "What's happening?" And I was like, "Yep, that's sorry about you, Detective Connors. It's not your day today."
You're a terrible detective.
Yes.
But did you see his face? That's why. Like, I don't know. Maybe what's his name? Isn't it JD Evermore? Maybe he's just like a really good actor, but like he doesn't seem like a bad guy. Like, I don't know. Like, he seems so tormented. Like his face when he missed, like when Tyrone disappeared. Well, then again, if a guy disappears when you're trying to shoot him, you'd probably have like a confused look on your face too.
And to me, he didn't have like that "what the hell just happened" look. He had like, damn it happened again. So like, I don't know if that's like he knows about Ty and he knows that he can do something crazy like that, or I mean, very clearly he shot at him and he portaled right out right in front of him. So he definitely saw it happen. So their secret, of the powers is not limited to just their close inner circle. This detective knows as well.
Yes.
They say that he has like a dark secret that torments him. Like, is that going to be part of it? Is he going to be like, I do know from the comics part of that backstory of Ty and his friend. So like, is he part of that story? Was he involved in that in some way?
Right.
I don't know. I don't like him yet, and maybe I will.
I hope so. I hope so.
Like, I hope to like. Well, I don't hope to like everybody, because you always got to have that character that you love to hate. and you just like you wouldn't want the show without them because they're just like so good at being the bad guy. But I don't know if that's going to be him, or I don't know what kind of angle.
Liam, dude.
Yeah, it's definitely.
We're all gonna hate Liam.
Oh, Liam.
Sorry, Liam.
I mean,
sorry, Carl.
Sorry, Carl.
I'll be a good actor.
Yeah, like I said last time, I'm gonna give Liam a chance, but I don't know. I've already coming in with like preconceived notion that I don't like this guy. So, and it's funny because I like Evita, even though she's Ty's girlfriend, though. But I really feel like
Double standards.
I know. I feel like our favorite character though, Melissa Bowen. I feel like she's gonna not like Liam, and then I feel like I need to side with her and be like, yeah, this guy's bad news. He needs to stay away from Tandy. In this moment, she's also my daughter, and he needs to get away from her. So I think I'm gonna have like that kind of outlook on him. But we haven't seen him either. He wasn't in the trailer, was he?
No, like Tandy's always with guys, but it's not. You're right. I don't think, or maybe it was like very short if it was, right?
Yeah, or like a flash. But I don't know. I don't think he was in the trailer, so it's like, well, I don't even know anything about this guy, and I'm already dogging on him every time we talk.
But and it's speaking of Tandy, it's cool that I think this is the first time we see her throw one of the daggers.
Yes, let's go into their
powers.
Like,
yeah.
Because we definitely need to talk about their powers. So she's like holding the dagger of light in her hand, and
yes.
So that's her power from the comic book, correct?
Yeah, she creates daggers, like light daggers, and in the comics she throws them a lot.
Okay.
Like she's never actually stabs anyone. Like in the trailers we've seen Tandy like stab people. In the comics, like my understanding is it like goes. It's not like a solid thing. It's like light, so it goes through people. And she's always throwing them. And her big thing is, like it's like light energy, and when it hits you, it like shows you for the scumbag that you are. Like it shows you who you really are, and you get paralyzed with guilt or something like that.
Oh no! It brings out like your inner asshole, really, of like why she's coming after you.
Yeah, it hits you with like contemplation. So you're like paralyzed in the comic books. So that's her like offensive thing, and the reason why she's so in the comic books, this happens a lot. People like kidnapping Dagger, and that's all sexist and stuff, and damsel in distress. But the reason why, other than she's like a symbol of purity and light and innocence, is that the other reason why people like desire Dagger in the comic books is that she can heal people. Like she's got healing powers, specific more like. With a lot to do with specifically like poisons or like sicknesses and maladies. The like in her first like in Cloak and Dagger's like second appearance, there's like a cover where all the characters are like trying to grab her. The Kingpin is in there, Cloak, Spider-Man, Black Cat, like all these Spider-Man characters are trying to grab her. And that's because like the Kingpin is trying to kidnap her to heal his wife, and of course like Cloak needs her to like heal him and stuff. So that's her. That's a more interesting thing about the character. Not really the fact that she just throws, like it's just basic energy beams. And here in the TV show, it's different. Like the daggers feel like, because in the trailer she's like dragging one of the light daggers like across like the wall, wall, and you see that it's making a mark. So it's like a real solid. She can turn it solid in the for the TV show at least.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's her whole thing.
And does she drain people of like their energy when she hits them with the light dagger, or is it something that like actually physically hurts them?
No, that's more of Cloak's thing. I guess she overloads them. That would make more sense. She overloads them with with light.
Okay.
So they get really zen and can't move.
Wow. Okay. I mean, her powers are super cool. I personally love that the light and dark duality, and I always have in other various forms in different shows. But I always really liked the light side. So like seeing that she has that power, but then is still a badass, because sometimes the light side, gets the rap that they're not as cool or like not as powerful as the darker side of things. But she's pretty BA, so we'll see. And being able to turn her dagger solid, I think she's gonna have some really cool fight scenes. And we talked last time about, how
Yeah.
both Olivia, um, both of the actors have that background of, and Olivia especially has that martial arts background, so she has that. She has that fighting, already in her. So I'm sure she did a lot of her own stunts. But Aubrey is also a dancer, so they have that movement.
Oh, okay.
That will be, yeah. So they both have that movement ability that I'm sure they'll bring in to their characters' fight scenes. So that'll be really neat to see. And then Cloak, we talked about how he can teleport, how he can go into the dark
Yes.
force dimension. But he also has my new favorite superpower of intangibility, where he can basically like disperse into a mist, just like my guy Reaper from Overwatch. But he has that, like, when you're looking at him, he's kind of like misty and not always all there. So that like
Right.
that's a cool power. Like we were
Yeah.
saying last time, like people always ask people like, what would you want your superpower to be? Intangibility was never something that would come up on the top of my list. But then you see Cloak and you're like, damn, that's pretty cool. That's a neat power to be able to do that. So what does that look like in the comic books?
So okay, so in the comic books, like he's pretty powerful in the comic books. If he was like a what do you call it, like an RPG, a character in an RPG, like his class would be like he's like a support class. So, but he's got all the support skills.
Okay.
So his main thing in the comic books is, of course, he's like I said, like a portal to a dark dimension, which is just basically means if you get stuck in his cloak, sounds stupid that people will like get stuck into his cloak, but like in the comic books, his cloak gets bigger and it's kind of alive, so he can like drag people towards him.
Okay.
And when you get stuck in there, he drains you of your life force, and you see, and they mentioned this in the TV show, which I was surprised. In one of the trailers, Tandy mentions that something like Cloak shows people their darkest fears.
Yeah, they did say that in the last trailer we just got.
And what does she do? She like shows them their brightest future or something like that. I don't know, something like that.
I think
so. That's more of Cloak's thing. Like definitely they show that in the comic books. Like when people get dragged in, they get their darkest fears, and same thing comes out. They come out. They can die if they stay too long in his clutches. That's why Dagger usually because of her light, she's immune to whatever is the force that's draining life energy inside Cloak. So she can go inside Cloak. Sounds weird. And they can teleport together. That's their thing. They can teleport. They bounce around together. In addition to that, Cloak is intangible, so bullets pass through him. He can kind of fly and float-ish. Yeah, and what else? I think, that's pretty much it. He can teleport. So yeah, he's got a lot of skills, and that's actually why they sort of came back, because for like 20 years, I saw this stupid fact. For like 20 years, there was no Cloak and Dagger comic book. From like 92 to like 2010, there was no Cloak and Dagger comic book, and the characters were kind of, they were marginalized to the Spider-Man comic books. And the big reason why they kind of made a mini comeback in like the 2010s is I think writers were like, oh shit, these two characters, like one's a healer, One is like a teleporter. He can do like mass teleportation.
Hmm.
These are really cool powers to have in your story. Like if you
Yeah.
need like as even just as a plot device, like you need all your characters to move from one area to another. Let's bring Cloak in. Like he's the
Right.
guy. So that's when he started making more appearances in comic books and like big comic book events. Like, oh, okay, we need the teleporter, get Cloak. So that's his big thing. So in terms of the TV show, we don't see all of these powers. Like Tyrone teleports. We don't know if he's bulletproof just yet. Uh, we don't really see the Cloak doing much yet. Maybe it's like a special effects thing that they're still gonna add on later.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, or they're just saving it, but we don't really see like it almost looks like it's like a force in the same way that the light is like Dagger's light is a force. Like he's holding the darkness, right? You see him holding the darkness,
Yeah.
and it's like a mist that crawls around. So maybe they changed it. Maybe it's gonna evolve. It's still the first season, so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, so like he can go into the Dark Force dimension, and that's how he basically teleports from one place to another. But if
Yes.
if he brought like a normal person into the Dark Force dimension, like they would eventually like go crazy or possibly die, correct?
Yes, unless they were like that, like Dagger was like holding their hand, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say that going back to where we originally started with this like alternate place where Tandy and Ty are meeting and looking at their powers, that's probably not the Dark Force dimension, but maybe it could be like what the Dark Force dimension is in this show.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It'll make it more interesting, right?
Yeah. I do hope that they bring that Dark Force dimension aspect in because it is cool how they explain Ty's powers, like from the comic books, as saying like he's not really portaling, he's teleporting himself, but he's going like into that Dark Force dimension and
Yeah.
where it could be like hundreds of miles in our world in the Dark Force dimension is just a couple steps. So he can get
Right.
like through the fabric of time, of space and time, like through the Dark Force dimension really quickly. So I thought that like
Sure.
that was a super cool ability that he has to be able to do that. And like you said, like how useful is that? You know, like maybe they need to
Yeah.
go to New York because that's where everybody else is and that's where the main action is going on. They could easily get
Yeah.
to New York really quickly with Ty's abilities. So, well, who knows? Maybe they'll bring that into the show to
Hmm.
see those powers and abilities. Um, yeah. Anything else about powers?
No. Just I was thinking, you like you said, oh, well, what kind of powers would be cool to have, and I was thinking about it. It was like all these lame answers, and I think, okay, and that's perfect because it brings me to like a deep cut. Cloak and Dagger in the comic books, he's immortal,
Okay.
and they never talk about that anymore. Um, but that's true. It was mentioned that Cloak is an immortal. I don't know why. Uh, he's like a different person in the comic books. Like Tyrone in the comic books is kind of a different person from Cloak. Like they speak different. Obviously, his stutter disappears.
Okay.
Cloak's dialogue is completely different. He's like a different person, and that was like 30 years ago. They changed that a little bit. Like now, it's more like it's the same guy. But yeah, so they did some weird thing where the other version of the Cloak aspect is immortal, and I was like, that's I don't know if that's a power, but I want that. That's pretty cool. Like you
Of
just
being able to be immortal.
yeah, like the Highlander style. You just keep going on. Well, no, without the beheading. You just keep going on, and is that lame? Is that a lame answer? Like
No,
you
no,
just
no.
keep going
Okay,
on.
'cause I'm gonna pull in some shadow hunters to like help educate you on shadow hunters now, right? So,
Oh, okay.
so Malik, our favorite show couple, you're gonna hear
That guy.
mentioned all the time. So it's Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood, and Magnus Bane
Uh-huh.
is a warlock and he's immortal, and Alec
Okay.
Lightwood is a shadow hunter and he is not immortal. So like that is like a
Uh
big
oh.
deal. Right,
Oh
right, right.
no.
That's a big deal in the relationship because Alec's like, I'm gonna age and I'm gonna get old and I'm gonna be a burden to you, and Magnus is
Yeah.
he's lived for over 800 years, and he's like, yeah, that kind of happens to me. So there's this thing going on right now where everybody is like, please just make Alec immortal and it'll save everything. Like, would you want that? Like, would you want to be immortal? Obviously, to be with the person you loved, to be with them forever is a bonus, but you have to watch everybody else around you die. So like that is definitely something that you have to take into consideration. And then like on my end, I'm like, well, you could make Magnus like not immortal, and then they could just both age together. So like that could be an option too. But I definitely think immortality is maybe not like a superpower, but definitely something that you would have to think about if somebody came up and offered that to you. So that's a good answer.
Oh, why are you making me think?
Right?
I don't want that.
I know.
That's sad.
It is sad. Because then
All
you're
right.
like, look at your BFF and you're like, okay, well,
Oh
I'm
no.
now, so like, you're gonna age, but like, I'll take care of your kids forever, and then their kids, and their kids, and their kids, and then you're like,
Oh, that's a lot of responsibility.
oh, right?
Oh man, I think I want flying then. Let's do flying. There you go.
That's a
Yeah.
safe bet. I don't know, my answer
No
to the
responsibility.
question, like, what would my superpower be? I'd always come
Uh-huh.
up with, like, yeah, like, you go through, like, flying and, like, stuff like that first. And then I was like, I think, like, out of anything, I would want to be able to speak, understand, and write every language in the world.
What?
Yeah, because then I can communicate with everybody. Like,
Do
no
you
matter
want to
what,
communicate with everyone?
yeah. Like,
A lot of dumb people in the world.
I would be super useful.
That's true.
Right? Because they'd be like, ooh, let's call Kat up and let's bring her with on our super cool mission. Like, I
Let's
just
give her more work.
Like, now, it'd probably not be very useful. Like, I'm thinking, like, Tony Stark would call me up and, like, bring me on his private jet and, like, take me to the world. But, like, Tony Stark probably has some technology that can take care of all that for him, so I wouldn't even need that. Jarvis or whoever he has going on now would take care of all of that for him, but I don't know. I
Thor would it?
cool. And like just because I like to know things. So like I want to be able to know, I want to be able to have that knowledge within me and that ability to just talk to people like that.
Do you like know like a second language fluently?
No, not fluently. So I took like the generic like Spanish, French, German classes when I was younger. I minored in Japanese in college, but I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
So,
Right.
But just having, I don't know. Maybe that's a lame power. I should probably think of a better one. But you guys all
We should come back with like more badass powers next time. Listeners are gonna be like, "What? That's it."
I don't know, like invincibility or something like that. Yeah.
There you go.
The cat has a super lame power. But you guys tell us on Twitter, like, what would your superpower of choice be? And then maybe I can like steal an idea from one of you and be like, oh yeah, that's a way better idea than my idea.
Yes.
Oh, but I'll go with
go.
I'll go with intangibility for now, just because I love Cloak and I love Reaper from Overwatch, who both have the same sort of ability, except Reaper's story is much sadder of how he got his power. But anyway, I digress. So yeah, tell us on Twitter, what would your superpowers be? Let us know like who you affiliate more with at this moment. Are you more like a cloak person? Are you more a dagger person? Which way are you guys going on that? For me, I'm pretty much in the middle because I really like Cloak. I really like Aubrey Joseph's like this portrayal of him so far. But I love Olivia Holt and I love Dagger's one-liners. Like, what does she say that's so funny at the end of the trailer? Didn't she say something like, "We'll show these assholes a divine pairing"?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good line.
That really got me. Like, that was a good like kind of last line to put in the trailer.
Right.
I don't know which way are you leaning? Like, have you ever had a preference towards either one of them, or do you like both of them equally?
Oh man, no, I'll never be able to choose. A friend of mine had this really cool line because we were asking him, or he was like trying to say who his favorite character was, Superman or Spider-Man, and he was like, gun to my head, I'd be dead. And I was like, all right, that's kind of how I feel about Cloak and Dagger. Like, I will never be able to answer who's your favorite comic book character. It's got to be two people. If I can fit them in one answer, like I'll just
I think that's
say
fair.
the name really fast.
They go together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's a good answer.
I mean, that's the phrase, Cloak and Dagger. Nobody
Right.
just says dagger,
Right.
right? All this dagger stuff with spies and stuff. No, nobody says that. It's weird. It's awkward. Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I buy that answer. Yeah. Mine would have to be either Tony Stark or Star-Lord. Those are my guys right now. So, well, Tony Stark's always been my guy. I'm always Team Stark. I'm
with Cap.
No.
I'm with Cap.
Cap.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I respect it. I like Cap. I don't have anything against him except that, the whole Civil War thing. But I get both sides of the story. So, but I'll always be Team Tony. Can't change that.
Right.
Really quickly, we also wanted to just kind of mention some of our behind-the-scenes crew. Joe Pokaski is our executive producer and showrunner. And then we also have, who else we got? Remind me, Butch.
Jeff Loeb. Those are the two biggest people behind the scenes, I think. They both have comic book experience. Jeff Loeb is he's written so many comic books. He's a comic guy, even though he got started doing Teen Wolf. He's kind of jumped back. They moved him from Marvel Comics to Marvel Entertainment, so he's in charge of overseeing the Netflix shows and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I guess.
Cool.
And Joe Pokaski, he worked on Heroes, the TV show, and then he did comic books. He wrote a few comic books here and there, and he worked on the Daredevil TV show. So those two guys are exactly the kind of people you'd want to do a comic book-based TV show. Yeah, those two. And who's the director is, what's her name? Gina
Bythewood.
Yeah.
Directed the pilot.
Directed the pilot. I think did you see her credits? She's like a big get for them, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome to have that kind of pull. And then we also have Jenny Klein, who is a producer, and she's worked on Jessica Jones and a couple other things as well. So,
right. So
it sounds like we have a good behind the scenes crew, a strong crew with Joe as the showrunner. Jeff Loeb's also the president of Marvel Television, so to have somebody like that involved, in Cloak and Dagger right from the beginning. So I think there's a really good team behind the show, which gives me a good feeling about the show getting renewed. We're talking about the show getting renewed right now.
No.
It has to. It can't only go for one season. We're gonna get renewed. I already feel it. I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah. I bet Ashley and Chloe from our sister podcast, the Siren podcast, they're probably because I don't know if Siren has been. You watch Siren, right? I don't know if that's
Siren is such a good show, and we'll plug Siren Podcast again with our sister podcast, and their hosts, Ashley and Chloe, are amazing. They've done a super great job, and they've got some extras of the show listening to their podcast. So I was so excited for them.
Wow.
Yeah,
cool.
We're waiting right now to see if that show's going to get renewed. It's gotten really good ratings. So hoping so. We're still waiting to make sure Shadowhunters gets renewed. Shadowhunters again is our other sister podcast, and that is with Abel, Andrea, and Adam. So please check out those shows as well. They run in the same style format as we do, where they're doing episode recaps. And Shadowhunters is over halfway done now in season 3, and they just finished filming the second half of season 3, so we're almost done with 3A, and then we're gonna get 10 more episodes for 3B. So I'm wondering if they're gonna do that same sort of thing with Cloak and Dagger, where we get the half seasons, where we get so we've got 10 episodes of the first season, and usually the first season is the shorter season. But I'm fully confident that this show will be renewed, and we'll go to the style of, we'll get that 2A 10 seasons and then 2B 10 seasons, where you're kind of getting that mid-season big,
like a break.
yeah, but still with that, like, that cliffhanger of like what's going on in the story, and then you have to wait
Oh boy.
until it comes back on air.
One of them is gonna die. Cloak is gonna die, or Dagger's gonna die, and
No,
it's
they've
gonna be
already
to be
talked about
continued.
it.
I know. God.
They've already told us. They threw out that one, and man, that triggered me. I'm telling you, because I can't lose either one of these guys right now. But yeah, anything else we want to talk about today?
No, we're good. Well, I just wanted to ask, just even very quickly, you're the freeform expert of our
but I
duo.
try.
So I was just wondering, there's like some stuff here in the new trailer. There's like they touch on serious things. Like there's the image of drugs. I think there's like a needle, and then Dagger, is she committing suicide or trying to commit suicide? And
Right.
there might be like some race stuff. I thought they wouldn't. I was surprised that there was like some riot imagery, and I may have seen a noose. I'm not sure. Would that be the kind of thing that Freeform would do? Like, did that surprise you, or is that within their wheelhouse?
I think it's in their wheelhouse. I think that they know how to do it really tastefully. I think that if it's something from the original comic books, that it's something that they would bring in, but maybe not make like as huge of a deal, or do it in a different way. I mean, they explore all kinds of issues in other TV shows. Even drawing from Shadowhunters, there's a race element built into Shadowhunters. Just with different, like, you know, there's the Shadowhunters, there's the Warlocks, there's the Sealies, there's the Vampires. So there's, you know, there's fights between those species. So they bring kind of that, like, the differences element in, but they know how to do it. They know how to do it safely. It is, I mean, overall everything's Disney, so I don't think we're gonna get like anything outwardly crazy, especially in the drug way. But even in Shadowhunters, there was drug addiction touched upon. So in season 2, they did bring in drug addiction as part of a plot line, and kind of, you know, this is what I'm addicted to, and addictive personalities, and then going through kind of a rehab and going through the stages of that. So they do know how to do that, and they know how to do it tastefully. So I think, you know, if we do see
that's good to hear.
It's gonna be well done.
Cool.
Yeah. So looking forward to everything again. Our June 7th premiere is a 2-hour series premiere, and our episode titles are First Light and Suicide Sprints. So we'll see what those titles bring to us. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Please check our show notes for our social media information. Please interact with us. Again, we need you guys to help us name amazing intro voice guy, and we want to know what superpowers you guys would have, and any thoughts about the upcoming show. Again, we are always available on Twitter, so please tweet at us. And we look forward to learning more about you guys as we watch along with the show together. So the next time we meet, it's going to be after that 2-hour series premiere, and we're going to dissect those first 2 episodes. So that will probably be June 8th. We'll aim for with the podcast coming out. So we look forward to you guys joining us again. Again, follow us on social media, but otherwise, thank you guys so much.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Make sure you check out the show's description down below so you can follow us on social media. Talk to you next time.